Right, evening everybody. It's still Sunday, 2nd of October, and I still haven't any sign of a baby yet. Not me personally, obviously my wife. So I'll crack on with the second one of the night, which is this one. Nothing on it because I got it when I paid a little visit to the storage facility, their barn that the guys at the Whiskey Lounge have got. So Eddie and Joe and Amanda and everybody else at the Whiskey Lounge, thank you very much for your very generous donations. I'm not sure you knew just quite how many donations I got from you, but thanks anyway. And this particular one is called The Quiet Man. Now, excuse me, this is what the bottle looks like, and you are looking at about 26 quid for this one. And this is a relatively new release, which is a cooperation from a company called Luxco, who are a drinks company based in St. Louis in America, and another company called Niche Drinks, who are based in Northern Ireland in Derry, which is here. Now, the MD and co-owner of Niche Drinks is a guy called Kieran Mulgrew. And if I put the bottle back up, you'll see that there is a picture of a gentleman on there, on the front label. Now, it's not John Wayne, who was the star of the film also called The Quiet Man, which was based in Ireland. He played a boxer who killed somebody in the ring while he was over in America and returned back to his native island, and hijinks ensued. It's not John Wayne. The guy on the bottle is actually John Mulgrew, who's Kieran's dad, who apparently was a bartender. And when Kieran basically signed off on, right, we're going to do a whiskey range, he named it The Quiet Man in honour of his father. So there is actually two releases of The Quiet Man currently. There is the one that we've got here, which is now, it's a non-age statement blended Irish whiskey, but apparently it is a 4-year-old. So it's a combination of, and I think it's pot still whiskey as well, malt whiskey, pot still whiskey and grain whiskey, and it's quite a high malt content as well. They also do an 8-year-old single malt, which is about 30, what did I say it for, 33 quid. Now, I don't think Master of Malt Whiskey Exchange, anyone like this is selling it. It was a fairly unusual online drinks company that I found it for, but if you Google it, they were the first one. Lighthouse Drinks, I think they were called. I don't even know where they're based. Now, the rumour has it that this is whiskey sourced from Cooley, maybe just the single malt, because there is a rumblings that it's very similar to the green or 8-year-old, which is quite highly regarded. In terms of the grain and the pot still and stuff that's in this, if there is pot still, that may be from Cooley as well. But it's still a bit of a mystery as to where this is from, but rumours are that Cooley. Niche Drinks actually have plans to build and open a new distillery in Derry. Now, Derry is here, and it would be the first distillery in the area for about 150 years. And again, it's another one of these where there seem to be Irish whiskey distilleries popping up left, right and centre. Irish whiskey is growing, it's becoming more and more popular, and you're starting to see new brands. So this was first bottled in June of last year, 2015. We've just had the Dubliner, which was again launched around the same time in June 2015. So there are these new Irish whiskies because the demand is increasing, and if demand increases, there will be new people that come out and new releases. So I'll be honest, Dubliner was a bit of a disappointment. So it will be very interesting to see, because this is basically the same thing in terms of it's an Irish blended whiskey. It's about the same price. It has a high malt content, it is saying, so will be interesting to see whether that makes a difference. So obviously, you know, The Quiet Man, very, very well known John Wayne film as well, and set in Ireland, and that was my first thought. I didn't really pay much attention to the label. It was only when I was coming back to it and going, yeah, that's a John Wayne film and it's based in Ireland. They don't really mention that at all, but I have a feeling that when they came up with the name, it was almost like, oh, actually, you know, this could work in America. They might not have to use John Wayne's image or reference the film, but I think a lot of people will go, Irish whiskey, John Wayne film, set in Ireland, yeah, we'll have some of that. And it's just a kind of convenient, I'm not saying that they chose it deliberately, but it's probably one of those where it was like, oh, you know, yeah, The Quiet Man, oh, wait a minute, wasn't that a John Wayne film? Oh, that's handy, that sort of thing. So, okay, in terms of colour, Not too dissimilar actually to the Dubliner. It's quite pale. There's probably a slight darker hue to it, but again, relatively light. But, you know, quite a nice bright colour to it. It looks pretty healthy. Ooh. Now this has got a very interesting, there's an orange zest zing to it, but there's something else there as well. Slightly grape, like white grape skins, an orange zest, and again this is like sherbety, like the Dubliner was, but this has got more oomph to it. It's got more of a character to it. This is less sniffing a handful of love hearts where it's a very, very delicate. This is kind of like a, and I wouldn't recommend this, but taking a bit more of a deep breath in like a bag of sherbet. I'm not saying, you know, open a flying saucer and snort sherbet off the table, but there is a definite, there's a slight freshness to it, but there's a real kind of like zingy effervescence to it on the nose. That's a nice nose. That's really nice. It's not deep, it's not rich, it's more delicate, but it's got something slightly sparkling about it. There's a slight sharpness to it, which feels like it's masking some other flavours. But again, sherbetiness comes through. Orange zest that was on the nose is there, but reined in quite a bit. It's more of a supporting cast rather than full up front. Good mouthfeel to it. There's a bit of sweetness, but it's not cloying. It's quite light. It's another delicate Irish whiskey. Very easy to drink. No burn. Not a great deal on the finish overall, to be perfectly honest as well, but what's there is actually quite decent. It does kind of sparkle. It's quite tingly. And yeah, again, the sherbet comes through. There's a nice softness to it. It's almost like, not lemon meringue pie, but orange meringue pie, which I don't even know if it exists, because I don't think I've ever come across orange meringue pie, but it's how I imagine an orange meringue pie would taste. It's kind of got a slightly orange curdy feel to it, but it's not a lot, it's not heavy, it's not sickly sweet, but it's got that light sweetness of meringue and almost that slightly caramelized topping as well. When you stick meringue under the oven and you get that slightly burnt crispy bit on the top that makes it kind of chewy, but you get that very slightly caramelized sugar feel to it as well. Element of that to it. It's soft, it's very, very easy to drink. There's almost a bit of sherry kicking through now as well. I don't know what it's been matured in. I think it's actually matured in bourbon casks, because in fact yes, because I did read in one article that they were talking about the fact that because they're tied in with Luxco, they can source bourbon casks quite well, and it tends to be more first fill bourbon casks because they just get sent straight overseas. And that's what I'm starting to get a little bit more of now. There's a bit more of a richness coming through. Now, the Dubliner, which I've just had, that talked about also being matured in bourbon casks. There was no sign of bourbon cask on that whatsoever. There wasn't a lot of flavour anyway, but there was no indication that it had obviously been matured in bourbon casks, whereas this has got a bit of that underlying fruitiness, and it starts to come through. It starts off delicate and then a bit more richness comes through. This is a good Irish whiskey. I am liking this. It's not too heavy, it's not too full on, it's more of a light, delicate whiskey to drink. But there is enough to it that it makes it interesting. Yeah, the finish isn't particularly huge, but it's a fun whiskey to drink, and it's very, very easy to drink. I can imagine having a bottle of this with some friends and you get through the bottle before you even realise it, which is kind of dangerous, but the sign of a good whiskey where you can drink it and you don't have to work with it, you don't have to sit down and take some time over it, you can just enjoy yourself doing other things while drinking a whiskey that, do you know what, it's not going to rock your world, but you're going to go, that's all right, that, yeah, I'm going to carry on drinking that. you know what? It's not massively dissimilar to some pretty decent Scotch blends as well. That would almost be a good crossover. I think it's the bourbon casks. I think it's that little extra bit of sweetness to it. And there's a very slight oakiness that kind of comes through at the end as well, where you could use that as a stepping stone into Irish whiskey from Scotch. From somebody that drinks Scotch blended whiskies and won't touch anything else whatsoever, you could give them that blind and go, what do you think of that? I think they'd probably enjoy it. I really do. That is a pretty good Irish whiskey. It's 26 quid, which, looking at what blended Irish whiskies seem to be price-wise, you know, I mean, Paddy was 20 quid. There's more to this than there was to Paddy, to be perfectly honest. Kilbeggan's about the same price, and to be honest, I think the two of them are different enough that, to be perfectly honest, you wouldn't be able to say, well, one is better than the other. Kilbeggan surprised me more. This is a bit more classically Irish, but actually that is all right. And from what I hear, the single malt that they've got, the 8-year-old, is supposed to be very, very good indeed. So I am intrigued to try and find that and try that one as well, because that, the Quiet Man, if you'll pardon the pun, is worth shouting about. Sorry. But yeah, good. Enjoyed that. No preconceptions on that whatsoever. Had no clue what to expect. And you know what? That is actually pretty damn good. So yes, go and check out The Quiet Man. The film's good as well. So either or, whichever, depending on what shop you're in, pick one of them up, either the film or the whiskey, and you'll have a good time with either. Right. I shall see you at the next one. Cheers.